Market Mantra, Mantra, Market Mantra, Market Mantra, Market Mantra, Market Mantra, Mantra, Market Mantra, Mantra.
Good evening and welcome to the Saturday edition of Market Mantra, in which we give you a complete update on the economic news of the day. Today we'll also be taking calls from you, our listeners, on any queries that you may have on business, economy and stock market matters. But do remember that we don't address stock or company specific queries. The numbers to call us on are 2331 4444, 2342 1050 and 2331 0464. And those of you who would be calling us from outside Delhi, please prefix 011. My name is Rajesh Lake and with me is my co-anchor in Hindi, मनोज पाठक।
नमस्कार। मार्केट मंत्र के ताजा अंक में आपका स्वागत है। आधे घंटे के इस कार्यक्रम में हमेशा की तरह हम देश और दुनिया की चुनी हुई कारोबारी, आर्थिक और शेयर बाजार से संबंधित ताजा खबरों को लेकर हाजिर हैं। आज शनिवार है और आज के दिन हमारे कार्यक्रम में आप प्रत्यक्ष रूप से हो सकते हैं शामिल और पूछ सकते हैं हमसे सवाल, अर्थनीति, कारोबार या शेयर बाजार से जुड़ा हुआ। बस ये ध्यान रखिएगा कि हम किसी खास कंपनी या शेयर के बारे में जानकारी आपको नहीं दे सकते हैं। हमसे सवाल पूछने के लिए आप डायल कर सकते हैं 2331-4444, 2342-1050 या फिर 2331-0464। हमारे साथ खबरों पर चर्चा और आपके सवालों का जवाब देने के लिए आज स्टूडियो में हमारे साथ आमंत्रित हैं आर्थिक मामलों के वरिष्ठ विशेषज्ञ शिशिर सिन्हा। शिशिर जी नमस्कार, कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत है।
वार्म वेलकम शिशिर।
थैंक यू।
आइए शुरुआत करते हैं अंग्रेजी में हेडलाइन से, जिसे लेकर मौजूद हैं राजेश लेख।
Over 2.25 crore property documents issued in the last 5 years will unlock an economic potential of 100 lakh crore rupees in the country, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Global crude oil prices rise for the fourth straight week. Brent surges to near $81 a barrel. And domestic markets fall for the second straight week. Both Sensex and Nifty decline about 1%.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने कहा, पिछले 5 वर्षों के दौरान 2 करोड़ 25 लाख से अधिक लोगों को जारी किए गए संपत्ति के दस्तावेज, इससे देश में करोड़ों रुपए की आर्थिक संभावनाओं के अवसर पैदा होंगे। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय बाजारों में कच्चे तेल के दाम लगातार चौथे सप्ताह बढ़े। ब्रेंट की कीमत बढ़कर $81 प्रति बैरल के आसपास पहुंचे और घरेलू शेयर बाजार में हुई लगातार दूसरी सप्ताह गिरावट। सेंसेक्स और निफ्टी दोनों लगभग 1% नीचे आए।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today distributed over 65 lakh property cards under the Swamitva scheme to property owners through video conferencing. The property cards were distributed in over 50,000 villages across 10 states and 2 union territories. Speaking on the occasion, the Prime Minister termed this day historic for the rural economy. He said, over 2 crore 25 lakh property documents have been issued in the last 5 years since the implementation of Swamitva scheme. Mr. Modi said lack of proper property documents is a big problem which causes disputes. He said proper documentations of the property will facilitate getting loans from banks and protect from illegal encroachments. The Prime Minister said property documents will unlock the economic potential of 100 lakh crore in the country, which will prove instrumental in the economic empowerment of the people. The Prime Minister said Swamitva scheme will make the rural economy the core pillar of development. Mr. Modi said the government is working for the digitization of land records, and so far 23 crore Bhu Aadhaar numbers have been issued. He said 98% of land records have already been digitized in the country in the last 7 to 8 years. He said, with the availability of property rights, the problems of Gram Panchayats will be resolved and they will also become financially empowered. He said, valid property documents will also make it easier to get a proper claim in case of a disaster.
हमारे साथ इस बीच श्रोताओं का आना शुरू हो गया है और सबसे पहले हम आमंत्रित करना चाहेंगे दिल्ली से एनआर प्रसाद को। प्रसाद साहब स्वागत, सवाल पूछे। प्रसाद जी आप जुड़ चुके हैं हमारे साथ।
Mr. Prasad from
बेंगलुरु से।
Yeah. This is NR Prasad from Bangalore.
स्वागत आपका।
Hi. Good evening, Rajesh ji. Hello, Manoj. Mr. Sinha, there are two questions. See, trade deficit has come down below 22 billion as of December. On top of that, IMF predicts FY25 6.5 of GDP. Even financial year 26 also, India's GDP is 6.5. Compared to any other top 5 countries, India is doing better. But still, Sensex doesn't go beyond 76,600, down over 9,000 for the last 12 weeks. When it can rebound, any chances in the next 10 weeks before we close on the 31st of March? My second question is, actually I was observing in the last 10 trading sessions, within the IT sector, some have done very well, some have not done, it's fallen down. Even other manufacturing and FMCG also, some of the manufacturing and the FMCGs have gone up and some have come down. Any specific reason within the sector doing that performance? Thank you. These are my two questions.
Okay. If you talk about the first question, that if we are talking about 6.5% growth rate for 3 financial year, current fiscal, which is 25-26, so 24-25, then 25-26 and 26-27 also. So for all the 3 years, IMF has projected 6.5%, while World Bank has projected 6.7% for the next 2 fiscal. So if you see the overall global scenario, Indian growth story is really looking good. But there are 2 key issues. One is the urban consumption is yet to pick up. And that is one concern which is affecting the overall growth scenario. I mean, our potential could be more than 7%, but because of the lower consumption in urban area, that is getting affected. The other thing is that the geopolitical situation is not very favorable at this moment. I mean, especially if you talk about Europe, which is passing through some kind of slowdown. I won't say recession, but passing through the slowdown. So that is also having some impact. And of course, the crude prices, we also have to keep an eye on the crude prices. So that is why despite this 6.5%, which is the fastest growing economy all over the world, we are not doing well because of these 2-3 regions.
He also was correlating it with the Sensex. To why the Sensex is not...
That is what I'm saying, that the 3 factors we have to keep in mind, if we talk about the market. And your second question was about that the mixed trend in one particular sector, say IT or FMCG or any particular sector. So it all depends upon that what kind of profit margin a company has. I mean, one company has a very good profit margin because of the market concentration and all those things. But the other company may not be having the same market concentration. So that is affecting even in the IT sector, and the same in the situation in the FMCG. And the third part which you ask about, that what will happen in the next 10 weeks, I mean before end of this fiscal year. See, all depends upon the 28th thing, that is 28th January is the most important day we have to keep in mind. Yes. And of course the second day which have to keep in mind is the February 1 when the budget will be presented, and the third one will be the 7th of the February when the monetary policy review will take place. So these 3 events will decide that whether the market will go beyond what we are seeing,
smiling at the end of
the end of the fiscal year. But what I expect that post-budget, there could be some good movement in the market.
Okay, and also the urban consumption, as you mentioned, the 8th pay commission will, I think, facilitate some movement
Of
there.
course, but that is going to implemented only in the 26.
Okay.
So 26, 27, we will see some impact because of, even if we take the 7th pay commission, when the annual increment was something in the range of 1.02 lakh crore. So if this kind of amount, this kind of money is coming to the market, definitely the consumption will pick up. But we will have to wait.
We move on to Delhi now and welcome Satish. A warm welcome, Satish. Please ask your question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. My first question is whether this gold bond scheme of Government of India is still open. And second question is, it is very difficult to get back the shares from Investor Education Fund even after 1 year. After completing all the formalities, we are not getting. Is there any solution to it? And to whom we can complain about this? Thank you.
Okay. Talking about the gold bond, I believe he's talking about the sovereign gold bond. And as of now, there is no indication that there will be a new tranche. The last tranche which we see in the last fiscal, this fiscal, we are not seeing any sovereign gold bond issue. And the reason is very obvious. The cost of this scheme is very high. So government is not very much interested or willing to bring another tranche of that. The second question was about the Investor Education and Protection Fund. He is saying that he has completed all the formalities, but the shares still he has not been able to get that. I believe you need to only thing I can suggest here that continue communicating with the person there. That's the only solution. Apart from that, I don't have any solution to offer.
दिल्ली से चलें कोलकाता, हमारे साथ फोन लाइन पर हैं के सहगल। स्वागत है सहगल साहब, सवाल पूछिए।
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My question is regarding capital gain tax. In case I have a gain of some amount and I purchase a property of the same amount which cannot be sold for 3 years. But my question is, can I gift it to somebody, say my daughter or somebody?
Okay. Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I mean, if you buy a property and if you sell a property and then you buy another property which you are gifting to your daughter or your blood relation, please remember that when you are gifting to your daughter or anyone in the blood relation, you don't have to worry about the capital gain tax. And of course, you have already invested in another property within the time period. So you don't have to worry about that.
Pankaj from Noida joins us now. A warm welcome, Pankaj.
आपकी
Pankaj,
आवाज
we can't hear you clearly.
पंकज जी की आवाज
Pankaj, I request you to call us back again. In the meantime, we are joined in by Jitendra from Delhi. A warm welcome, Jitendra.
My question is that if somebody has bought shares before 2018, say 2009, 2011, etc., and those are being sold now, then the first question is that whether any tax will be applicable, and second, if yes, then will it be 10% or 12.5%? Because on 24th July, it was revised to 12.5%. But then, since in this financial year only this transaction is being made, so it should be 10% as per my knowledge. So I want your opinion. Thank you.
Jitendra ji, I mean, I believe you are talking about the capital gain provisions changed in fiscal year 2017-18. So if the capital gain is more than 1 lakh rupees, then only you will have to pay the tax on that. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about any kind of thing. And of course, the grandfathering has also been done. Now you are talking about that what will happen if I do the transaction this fiscal. Of course, if you are doing in this fiscal and the assessment is going to take place in fiscal year 25-26, so whatsoever the rate will be there, whether it is 10% or whether 12.5%, I believe you are talking about long-term capital gain tax. So whatsoever the rate would be there in that particular assessment year, that will be applicable. But please remember that 1 lakh rupees has already been said that it will not be it will not be part of your tax calculation up to 1 lakh rupees.
दिल्ली से हमारे साथ फोन लाइन पर हैं आर एस दहिया। दहिया साहब, स्वागत, सवाल पूछिए।
नमस्कार
जी, सवाल पूछे।
Sir, my question is that with the
दहिया साहब एक आग्रह आपसे कि अपनी रेडियो की आवाज बिल्कुल धीमी कर लीजिए जी।
With technical analysis, we cannot make a proper judgment of the market bottoming out. It's not possible. One. Number two, with the current level of Sensex, which has fallen about 11% from the all-time high, is it the right time to make lump sum investment in mutual fund or directly in share?
Dahiya sir, let me answer the second part of your question. I think it's a good way to distribute that. I mean, part in the mutual fund, and if you're doing SIP, that would be much better. If you can increase your amount of SIP, that will be really helpful, because higher the amount, you will get the units at the lower cost, and the averaging will be, the average cost of your mutual fund scheme would be much better. And the second thing, if you talk about the equity, I think it's a good time to put money in the equity market for the long term thing. I mean, say 3 years or 5 year time horizon if you're looking for, because I always believe and I always say that stock market needs not just money but also the patience. Unfortunately, many of the investors get worried about, say, fall in 1 month or in the second month. So please invest patience also along with the money, and part of that, I mean, if you have 100 rupees disposable income, then you can put say 50% in stock market and 50% in the mutual fund. That would be a great thing. And the first part, if I can understand correctly, he was talking about that whether the market has bottomed out or not. That is one question which is very, very difficult to answer, whether the technical or the fundamental analysis we go on. But I believe that the market is almost at the, I mean, bottom level. But it all depends upon, I am repeatedly saying, January 28th, February 1 and February 7. These 3 dates need to be remembered.
21/7.
21/7. Yeah, very good. That's a good way to remember, 21/17. So please remember these 3 dates. And of course, after 7th, if there is any kind of interest rate cut, please remember the market will be in a very different mood.
Jitendra from Mumbai now joins us. Jitendra, warm welcome. Please ask your question.
गुड इवनिंग सभी को
जी।
हाँ, मैं अभी जब सर जैसे बता रहे थे कि मार्केट जैसे गिर रहा था, मुझे एक हाइपोथेटिकल बोल सकते क्वेश्चन है कि समझो पूरी तरह से मार्केट गिर रहा है, लगातार गिर रहा है, तो गवर्नमेंट या कुछ सेबी इंटरवेंट उसमें मतलब करते हस्तक्षेप करते है क्या कि रोकने के लिए? इसका जरा जवाब दे सकते हैं कैसे? धन्यवाद।
देखिए जितेंद्र जी, शेयर बाजार में अगर सरकार दखल देना शुरू करे तो फिर तो हालात बहुत ही अलग हो जाएंगे। शेयर बाजार पूरी तरीके से खरीदार और विक्रेता और निवेशकों के ऊपर निर्भर करता है कि वो किस तरीके का व्यवहार करते हैं। हाँ, अगर कोई अनयूजुअल एक्टिविटी दिख रही होती है, कुछ ऐसा दिखता है कि जो बिल्कुल ही अप्रत्याशित है या कुछ गलत हो रहा है, कुछ गड़बड़ी हो रही है, तो सेबी उस पर नजर तो जरूर रखते हैं, उसके हिसाब से कार्रवाई करती है। वे आपको याद होगा कि एक जो ब्रोकर हैं, जो काफी जाने माने ब्रोकर हैं, उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई की गई है क्योंकि उन्होंने बाजार में गड़बड़ियां की थी। तो बाजार का गिरना या चढ़ना काफी हद तक निवेशकों पर निर्भर करता है, कारोबारियों पर निर्भर करता है, लेकिन गड़बड़ियों पर नजर तो हमेशा रखी जाती है।
आइए लौटें दिल्ली से हमारे साथ हैं योगेश जी, स्वागत, सवाल पूछें।
जी नमस्कार आप सभी को। सर मेरे 2 सवाल है। पहला सवाल है कि ये सोवरेन, अब तक तो कयास लगाए जा रहे थे पर अब शायद ये साफ हो चुका है कि सरकार सोवरेन गोल्ड बॉन्ड लाने के मूड में नहीं दिख रही है, तो इसको बंद करने के पीछे क्या कोई टेक्निकल कारण आपको दिख रहे हैं इस तरीके के? क्योंकि ये बहुत ही पॉपुलर हो गया था बीच में। दूसरा सवाल ये है कि जैसे अभी मार्केट में काफी क्रैश आया है, तो बहुत बार लोग कहते हैं कि बिकवाली की वजह से मार्केट नीचे आती है, खरीदारी की वजह से ऊपर जाती है। तो अगर हम 100 में से वेटेज दें तो कितना % वेटेज कंपनीज की अपनी अर्निंग का होता है शेयर प्राइस को मूव कराने में, और कितना % वेटेज खरीद और बिक्री का होता है, बिकवाली का होता है?
ओके, पहला सवाल जो सोवरेन गोल्ड बॉन्ड का है, देखिए जाहिर सी बात है बहुत लोगों की नज़र थी क्योंकि वो बहुत अच्छी स्कीम रही है और काफ़ी ज़्यादा लोगों को फ़ायदा भी हुआ है। और 8 साल की ये स्कीम हुआ करती है जिसमें आपको 1 पैसा भी टैक्स नहीं देना पड़ता है जो आप कमाते हैं। मतलब 8 साल के बाद जो आपको मिलता है उस पर कैपिटल गेन टैक्स नहीं देना होता, तो निश्चित तौर पर काफ़ी फ़ायदेमंद है। बंद किया गया है, अभी तक सरकार ने कोई औपचारिक तौर पर ऐलान नहीं किया है, लेकिन उसको कोई नया ट्रांच नहीं आ रहा है, तो ये साफ है कि अब वो स्कीम शायद इस कारोबारी साल में ना आए, जो संकेत मिल रहे हैं। लेकिन औपचारिक घोषणा का इंतजार है। क्यों बंद किया गया? देखिए बहुत सरल सा कारण है, इसकी लागत बहुत ज्यादा है। आप देखिए कि अगर 2.5% की दर से हर साल आपको फेस वैल्यू पे ब्याज मिले और 8 साल के बाद में जो बाजार कीमत है सोने पे वो आपको वापस किया जाए, तो ये स्कीम काफी महंगी साबित हो रही है सरकार के लिए, तो इस वजह से शायद इसको लाने में उनकी दिलचस्पी नहीं है। और जो दूसरा आपका सवाल था कि कितना वेट होता है एक कंपनी के अर्निंग का और खरीदारी और बिकवाली का। तो देखिए ऐसा कोई फॉर्मूला नहीं होता है। ओवरऑल मार्केट इस बात पर निर्भर करता है कि कितने जो सेंटिमेंट है मार्केट के वो किस तरीके से बन रहे हैं या बिगड़ रहे हैं, और सेंटिमेंट को बनाने या बिगाड़ने में सरकारी नीति है, वैश्विक नीति है, वैश्विक घटनाक्रम है, ये सारी चीजें काम करती हैं। एक कंपनी की अगर बात करें तो कंपनी के अर्निंग के साथ साथ अब निवेशक ये देखते हैं कि भविष्य में क्या संभावनाएं हैं। आपने देखा होगा कि कई कंपनियां जब अपने नतीजे का ऐलान करती हैं तो वह भविष्य को लेकर के कुछ अनुमान भी देती हैं और उसके आधार पर निवेशक फैसला करता है, क्योंकि एक चीज बाजार में बहुत साफ है, जो हो चुका है मार्केट उसको डिस्काउंट कर देता है, जो होने वाला है उसी के ऊपर वो खेलता है।
आइए चलें कोलकाता, हमारे नियमित श्रोता अतनु साहा, स्वागत है आपका, सवाल पूछें।
गुड इवनिंग सर, माय क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय सर प्रोटेक्शनिज्म? होल वर्ल्ड नंबर ऑफ कंट्रीज, फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड एंड आवर थिंक protectionism. And what do you mean by sir our Indian Kutumbakam, where the whole world is our familiar by the economic? And sir, my question, another question, sir, what is the future of pharmaceutical stock, mainly worldwide, and sir, the future of our mediclaim stocks in India? Thank you very much.
Talking about the first question, protectionism is basically when a country is imposing higher duty on import, and that means it is, blocking the import from the other countries, and you are protecting your own economy, your own companies. But please remember that many of the companies all over the world, in all of the countries, need some kind of support from the external factors also. So protectionism is not something which is going to have your long-term benefit. Now, coming to your second part about the pharmaceutical thing, it's an irony. Whenever there is any kind of health crisis, pharmaceutical shares are always on a rise. So we also had one news about this virus attack in China, and after that we saw some kind of improvement in pharmaceutical shares. So God forbid nothing should happen, but the reality is that whenever there is any kind of medical emergency, pharmaceutical shares will always be there. At this moment it seems that it is on a normal path. There is nothing much is being seen in the pharmaceutical shares.
From Bengaluru, we are joined in by Subrato. A warm welcome.
Yeah, good evening to Market Mantra team.
Good evening.
Yeah, I am an intraday trader. I would like to know that because 20th of January, that is Donald Trump will take the oath. So, but that day the market will remain closed. But I know. But I want to know what is the chance of on which day market will be more volatile? Is it on 21st or 22nd? I am asking about Indian stock market.
Okay.
That is my question.
Subrato, I believe 18th is Saturday. Today is Saturday, and tomorrow the market will close.
Yeah,
a day after 20th, I don't think there is any holiday or something like that.
No.
But what he meant to say that when the Trump will start taking oath, at that time market will be closed. So that I can understand. So of course it all depends on what kind of first announcement he is going to make, and as he has already said that he is going to talk about tariff thing or as a part of his first set of announcements. So 21st and 22nd, these 2 days will see more volatility in the market, and more specifically in the on 21st.
Sanjeev from Delhi is with us now. Sanjeev, a warm welcome.
नमस्कार सर। सिचुएशन है, उसके बाद क्वेश्चन। सिचुएशन ये है कि जैसे हमारी दिल्ली में इलेक्शन है और एवरीबडी इज गिविंग फ्री, उसमें दिया जा रहा है भर भर के। चिंता ये है कि इससे डेफिसिट तो राइज होगा ही होगा। आप इस सिचुएशन को पॉजिटिव, दुख तो हमें मालूम है इसका क्या होगा, इसको आप पॉजिटिव कैसे देखते हैं कि फ्यूचर में हम वेनेजुएला जैसी कंट्री ना बने? इसे आप पॉजिटिव हमारे लिए क्या कैसे कह सकते हैं, कैसे रखते हैं?
देखिए, मुफ्त में कोई भी चीज दिए जाने, पहली बात कि कोई भी चीज मुफ्त नहीं होती है, उसकी कीमत कोई ना कोई अदा कर रहा होता है। आज अगर आप बात करें कि कोई भी राजनीतिक दल वायदा करता है और वो राजनीतिक दल की सरकार बनती है, तो वो राजनीतिक दल अपनी जेब से कुछ मुफ्त नहीं दे रहे हैं, वो हमारे आपके जो टैक्स से पैसे आते हैं उन्हीं से दिया जाता है। बजट का ही एक हिस्सा होता है। और आपने देखा होगा कि इस समय में कम से कम 3 राज्यों की स्थिति ऐसी है जहां पर बहुत बड़े ऐलान किए गए थे, उस ऐलान के बाद उनकी स्थिति क्या हुई है। और अभी जिसमें एक राज्य में चुनाव खत्म हुआ है, वहां पर इस बात पे भी चर्चा हो रही है कि हम इसको कैसे कर्टेल कैसे हम कम कर सकते हैं। तो मुफ्त कोई भी चीज नहीं होती है। मुफ्त एक पाने वाले के लिए थोड़े समय के लिए लगता हो, लेकिन बाद में उसी को तो उसका अदा करना, कीमत नहीं, उस आदमी को भी उसे कीमत अदा करनी है। ऐसा नहीं है कि जो आदमी मुफ्त ले रहा है वो बिल्कुल ही उसको कहीं कुछ कीमत नहीं देनी, उसे भी कीमत अदा करनी है किसी न किसी स्वरूप में। तो मुफ्त की संस्कृति अर्थव्यवस्था, बजट और किसी भी राज्य की वित्तीय स्थिति के लिए बेहतर अच्छी नहीं मानी जा सकती।
Moving on, the global crude oil prices rose for the 4th straight week as the latest US sanctions on Russian energy trade added to worries about oil supply disruptions. Brent crude oil futures surged 1.3% this week to end at $80.79 per barrel. US crude futures climbed 1.7% to $77.88 a barrel. The Biden administration unveiled broader sanctions last week targeting Russian oil producers and tankers. Investors are also assessing the potential implications of President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House on Monday. Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary said he was ready to impose tougher sanctions on Russian oil. Also, traders are assessing fresh data from China, the world's top oil importer. Its economy fulfilled the government's ambitions for 5% growth last year. However, China's oil refinery throughput in 2024 fell for the first time in more than 2 decades, barring the pandemic year of 2022. What's your take? What will happen in the oil prices?
I think at this moment we are seeing some kind of rise in the oil prices. And if you talk about the India per se, we are having another problem, which is a weakening of rupee. We have observed that rupee has weakened by almost 3% since November. And the kind of outflow we are seeing from the foreign equity investor, there is also more apprehension on the rupee. So oil prices, on the one hand, it is slightly rising and it has exceeded more than $80 a barrel. And the trend is almost going upward only. So at this moment, not a good news on the oil front, but what you can say relief is that there is oil marketing companies are not revising the prices soon as we can think about the current pricing scenario.
हाँ, ये नजर डालें शेयर बाजार पर। घरेलू शेयर बाजार में लगातार दूसरे सप्ताह भी गिरावट हुई और साप्ताहिक आधार पर प्रमुख सूचकांक लगभग 1% घाटे में रहे। बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज का सेंसेक्स बीते कारोबारी सप्ताह में 760 अंक यानी लगभग 1% घटा 76,619 पर बंद हुआ। उधर नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज का निफ्टी 228 अंक यानी 1% के आसपास नुकसान के साथ 23,203 दर्ज हुआ। पिछले 2 सप्ताहों में प्रमुख सूचकांक लगभग 3% नीचे आ चुके हैं। विस्तारित बाजार की ओर चले तो छोटी और मझौली कंपनियों के शेयरों की भी बिकवाली अच्छी खासी हुई। बीएसई मिड कैप और स्मॉल कैप दोनों इंडेक्स लगभग 1% घाटे के साथ बंद हुए।
Shashir, the indices have declined nearly 3% in the past 2 weeks. What's your take? What will happen in the coming week?
Coming week, I believe there will be more volatility, especially during Monday and Tuesday. But I believe the market is going to settle around Wednesday. That is the expectation we have as of now.
U.S. markets rallied yesterday to close out a strong week of optimism over the health of the economy. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 335 points or 0.8% to 43,488. The S&P 500 gained 59 points or 1% to 5,997, and the Nasdaq Composite gained 292 points or 1.5% to 19,630. For the week, the Dow rose 3.7%, the S&P gained 2.9%, and the Nasdaq climbed 2.4%.
और बस यही श्रोताओं की ओर से शिशिर जी हम आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहेंगे।
Thank you, Shishir, for being with us. And before we close, the headlines once again. Over 2.25 crore property documents issued in the last 5 years will unlock an economic potential of 100 lakh crore rupees in the country, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Global crude oil prices rise for the fourth straight week. Brent surges to nearly $81 a barrel, and domestic markets fall for the second straight week. Both Sensex and Nifty decline about 1%. That's all we have in this edition of Market Mantra. Till tomorrow, goodbye.
Market Mantra.